So today we're going to talk about the magical art of manifesting. You can use your mind to change your life. And this is something that has come into popular culture in a big way. Manifesting is the sort of the next generation about doing affirmations. Affirmations came into vogue in the 70s, largely in the 80s, about being able to say positive things about your life and then have those come into your experience. And they all work. They all work, asterisk. We're going to get into that a little later. By the way, the talk today is called a manifesting sandwich because manifesting does work, but there's more to it than that. And I will get to the manifesting sandwich part of it. So as far as the people who are doing simple, straightforward manifesting, and I listened to one yesterday morning on Insight Timer, the technique is really quite simple to create transformation in your life. The first thing that you do is get yourself into a quiet, meditative state. So you can be in the appropriate posture so that you can be calm and relaxed, so that you can turn your attention away from the stuff that's distracting you and just be present with yourself. So that's the calm, quiet, meditative state. And the second thing that you want to do is visualize or understand or define that desired life or experience that you want to be having. So you want to be able to get a clear idea in mind of the experience of life you want to be having. And the third part is that you imagine the feeling of having had it, of already having that experience in your life. What does that feel like? And then you spend some time feeling the feeling of having that experience. Now, for those of you who have been to the daily meditations or in our classes, you've been through this technique before. This is one of the things that we do, and we find that it really works quite well. The way that we do it, there's something more to it than that. And the wonderful thing about manifesting and affirmations, this process that I just described, is that they work. They create transformation in our lives. And it is absolutely amazing and a delightful and wonderful thing. And they work right up until they stop working. For some reason, at some point, they don't work anymore. And that can be very, very frustrating because here I am doing the same technique that I was doing before, and the things that worked and create a transformation in my life, now when I have something that's really big, that's really important to me, it's not working. And what I want you to do is keep in mind how practical prayer works. Kind of the definition or description of a practical prayer is an idea held in mind activated by belief. Or, as we like to say, your new life begins with a new thought. You're creating a life according to your beliefs. So what happens when there is a gap between our desire and our belief? What is it when there is something that we want to have that for some reason we don't believe we're going to have? We don't believe that we deserve that we can have. We don't believe it's possible that we can have. That gap is the huge chasm between simply doing an affirmation or this manifesting process and actually taking it into a practical prayer or a spiritual context. So really quick exercise, what I want you to do, this is kind of like a calibration test on your belief system. So I am going to give a couple of affirmations. I would like you to get into a quiet and receptive space so that you can accept these. And when you come across one of these that you A, don't believe is possible, or that you B, don't believe is realistic, or something, listen to the little voice that's going on in your head. Okay? So, and these are not going to be painful. This is not something that you actually need to be inviting into your life. Just see what happens with your belief system. So go ahead and close your eyes as you're comfortable to do that. Let yourself be completely present. And claim for yourself, I am standing comfortably in my living room. I am standing comfortably in my living room. I'm feeling at home, standing comfortably in my living room. And see if anything comes up. I'll try another one. I am standing comfortably on the surface of the moon. I am standing comfortably on the surface of the moon. See if anything came up for you. And it's possible if there's been a ping, yeah, but that's not going to happen. Or maybe You believe that. That could be possible. There have been people standing on the surface of the moon before. Could be possible for me. We'll try another one. I am standing comfortably on the surface of Mars. I am standing comfortably on the surface of Mars. Take that for yourself and see what's coming up out of the quiet of your own mind as you say, I am standing comfortably on the surface of Mars, because no one's ever done that before. We'll try one more. I am standing comfortably on the surface of the Sun. I am standing comfortably on the surface of the Sun. What kind of pushback is your mind getting as you claim, I am standing comfortably on the surface of the Sun? Are there yeah buts? Is there doubt? Is there some sort of a denial that this could possibly happen for you? Go ahead and open your eyes. Let those experiences release. And by the way, if anything's come about, it's going to be comfortable. So there's really not a problem that you need to worry about there. But just to understand that as we make those claims, as we make them more and more outlandish, there might be something that we're claiming that we don't necessarily believe. And this entire teaching is based on if you believe it, then you receive it. It is the law of attraction in operation. And there's a bigger picture than just saying something and claiming that you're going to have it and then insisting that that's going to be true. When we get into a practical prayer, we are doing the 4 Ps. We want to make sure that the claims that we're making are powerful, that they're positive, personal, and they're in the present tense. We are claiming something that we are accepting, embracing, and embodying right now, or willing to do so. Present tense. It's not something that's going to happen sometime in the future. And it's activated by belief. If I say, I am prosperous, and the little voice in my head says, you're always overdrawn at the bank, the credit cards are maxed out, you can't do this, you can't do that, this is the problem, that's the problem. It doesn't really matter what the affirmation is. What's operative is that belief that I have about what my personal financial situation is. Same thing if I'm dealing with relationships. If I really want to have loving, connected relationships, if I want to be in a friend group, and there's nobody around and I'm not experiencing that, just claiming, oh, I have my perfect, wonderful relationships. If I'm not open to that possibility, if I don't think there's any possible way that can be happening, what I'm doing is I'm just pushing against the good that I'm claiming, and I'm going to be experiencing what I believe. If I believe that I'm not going to be able to live a healthy and comfortable life, that these aches and pains that I've been feeling up until now, I'm going to continue feeling, regardless of what I do. If I believe that it's not possible for it to change, then I am absolutely correct, and it's not going to change. It is also possible that it can change. Something may show up. There might be a magical box that arrives from the telephysical therapy office that says, here's the thing that you can do. What we need to do is be ready for that 5th P, the pivot. We want to be able to turn away from the experience that we've been having that we don't like and open to the experience that we want to have instead. And manifesting still works. The whole manifesting thing works in all of this. But where we get into a manifesting sandwich, what really makes it work is to turn it from a mental process, which is, in popular culture, there's a huge focus on this being a mental process that you're done with your mind, that you can create the new experience with your mind. And yeah, kinda, but we're creating it with our mind in partnership with an infinite creative power that creates everything. So the first slice on which we are going to build our manifesting sandwich is we're going to put that manifesting sandwich on a slice of God. We are going to invite spirit into the process. We are going to start by turning away from the thought that I'm doing this myself and open to the possibility that the infinite is creating this. Because if I am trying to create that new experience, is it possible for me to stand on the surface of the moon? Well, maybe. But God knows how that's going to happen. And God knows what I would have to do in order to make that happen. And if I were ready to embrace and extend myself and commit myself, then there's the possibility of the universe fitting the pieces together so that I could in fact do that, if it's within range of my belief. But it is a much bigger creative force than me sitting here in my office or my living room or on my meditation chair claiming something that I don't believe in. And the reason that we believe things can't happen, part of it is that our chattering intellectual monkey mind thinks that it has everything figured out, and it concludes that whatever it is that we want can't happen, and it informs us very authoritatively and brusquely that's not going to happen. So whatever it is that we're claiming, it says no, and the belief is that that thought that we're having is the correct one. And it isn't necessarily correct. Everything that has ever happened right before it happened for the first time had never happened before. That makes perfect sense. And that's everything that has ever happened throughout history. Happened once for the first time. Everything that's commonplace now happened once for the first time. So it is possible for that next new thing that's never happened before to happen now for the first time. For each of us in whatever way it is that we are addressing or inviting or opening to. That doesn't mean it's easy. The second slice that we build our manifesting sandwich on is we put it on a slice of spirit first, but then we add a slice of gratitude. If we are doing this without a feeling of thankfulness, then the chances of it working, especially on something that we think of as big, is relatively low. Because what we want to be able to do is put ourselves in the tone and the flavor of gratitude. First of all, that takes us out of our ego, takes us out of the thought that I'm doing this. If we're grateful for something, we are grateful to something that is outside of ourselves, something that is bigger than ourselves. It might not be outside of us. It could be part of us, but bigger than we are. Gratitude implies that participation with a bigger process, with a larger operation, to bring something into our experience. So in a practical prayer, the second to last step is a gratitude step. And interestingly, our friends at Agape, Michael Beckwith's center in California, they do 6 steps, and the first one they do is gratitude. They start in gratitude and then turn their awareness to spirit. Because if we don't have those two pieces, if we don't have the divine participating in our creative activities, if we are not grateful to be part of this creative process, what we believe is that we're doing it ourselves, and then it's going to stop working as soon as it gets important to us, as soon as we start going beyond something that we have previously believed is possible. And oh, by the way, we can set any intention. We can believe anything that we want. We are open to that. And we can do that little test that we did when you claim to be standing comfortably on the surface of the sun, which it doesn't work for me. I know a little too much about just exactly how warm it is. I also know that there's not really a surface. It's gas and huge nuclear explosions. So I'm willing to let go of the thought that I'm going to be standing comfortably on the surface of the sun. But we can use that same technique to see what we're resistant to see where the objection comes up of this is not something that's going to be possible for me. And sometimes it comes out of our thinking mind, and sometimes it comes out of our education, and sometimes it comes out of our background, and sometimes it comes out of our collective belief system of the entire race, the entire history of humanity. There are things that we believe, and we collectively believe them, and we continue believing them, and then we continue experiencing them right up until the point that somebody does something that transcends that. And we can create anything in our lives. We can create a world of wonder, and we can create a world of challenge and difficulty and problem. So I came up with the title of the talk, The Manifesting Sandwich. And Joe, who among other things is our archivist, sent along a cartoon, and is appropriate to this situation, approaching it from a slightly cynical perspective, and I'll share that with you. This is from Pearls Before Swine. And the first frame is, I am stressed out by financial troubles, thought Bob to himself, and I must do something to relax. So Bob took a class on transcendental meditation. Sit in a calm, quiet space for 20 minutes a day, said his spiritual guru, and repeat a brief mantra to yourself. So Bob went home, and for 20 minutes a day he sat in a calm, quiet place and repeated his mantra. So that sounds exactly like the technique that we're going to use for manifesting. So what you want to do is go and spend some time focusing on your mantra. And after 1 month, he was more stressed than ever. Okay, so there's something going on that's not as expected. I do not understand, said a spiritual guru. At this point, your spiritual energy should be in harmony with the universe. What, may I ask, is your mantra? Turns out this is important. Financially broke failure, said Bob. He was kicked out of the meditation class. So the process works. You really do well to pay attention to what it is that you're claiming, what it is that we're putting into that intention, into that manifestation. So, and even if it's, I'm not lonely anymore. Well, okay, that's still focusing on lonely. The pivot is really important. What do you want to be having instead? Instead of financially struggling and broke, what's the experience that I have? Not financially struggling and broke? Well, that's a step in the right direction, but that's certainly not enough. What we want to be able to do is turn our attention to fully what it is that I want to experience. So instead of financially broke, I want to be prosperous. I want to have plenty. I want to live in abundance where I don't have to worry about the money, where I have plenty to spend and to share and to save. Otherwise, you're doing a prayer for what you don't want. And the manifesting sandwich is really helpful if we're willing to do those steps to open ourselves up to what it is that we really want, what we are partnering with Spirit to create in our lives, and to allow that manifesting affirmative technique that we're using in partnership with the infinite, fueled and powered by gratitude, to bring something new into our lives. And then, of course, there's the times where we come up against something that just causes the dark night of the soul. We know so clearly what it is that we want to have in our experience, and it just isn't showing up. And in some cases, that can be tremendously frustrating, and we run away and say, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. And in other cases, what we do is we go all in. We say, I know that the technique works. I know that it's not working for me now. I know that I'm claiming joy and happiness and harmony, and I know that I'm miserable and uncomfortable and unhappy. And instead of saying, I'm throwing the whole thing away, we do it again, and we take it to a deeper level. I've mentioned every once in a while to this group that I used to run a teen program for the Centers for Spiritual Living. And I did that for 6 or 8 years. And as the organizations were coming together, there had been an international one and a united one. As they were coming together through politics and whatever, I got thrown out of the organization. That's what caused New Thought Philadelphia to be an independent community. And my kids got taken away. And there were 75 of them. There were 75 kids I was dealing with. And that was tremendously hurtful for me. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know why that was going on. I had no imagination. I didn't understand what the politics behind it had been. It was just this hugely painful thing. And for me, that was a dark night of the soul. And that was in the end of 2010. And it lasted for 3 months. It lasted for 3 months. I was already through ministerial training at that point, so I had been doing this stuff for a long time. And suddenly, everything went sideways in my world, and it was tremendously painful. And I persisted. And I kept at it. I kept going through, all right, what's next for me? What is it that I'm inviting next into my life? And eventually, I was able to move past it. I was able to grow into something new. And now, in hindsight, I can understand how that's been a growing experience for me. And as difficult and painful as it was to lose all my kids, who are now in their late 20s and early 30s, and to lose that rich and important part of my life, I've now moved on to something different, and I have a perspective, and there are gifts that continue to show up in that. I'm not recommending that you go out and find a dark night of the soul experience for yourself. I'm simply saying that if one happens to show up for you, that you take your game up a notch. You take it to an even higher level. I'm going to close by talking a little bit about Thomas Midgley Jr., who is a world-famous chemist, held in high regard by people in the chemical industry. There's a Chemical Heritage Museum downtown Philadelphia where they still honor and revere him. He was the guy who put lead in leaded gasoline and did huge damage to the atmosphere before that was outlawed. It was banned in the 1970s. No more lead in gasoline and it was all done for a very good reason. He actually fixed the problem that he had set out to fix, which was to eliminate knocking in engines. Inadvertently created a bigger problem because he was not doing this as a spiritual practice. This was not a manifesting sandwich. This was just him saying, I can do this, and he did it. And then after claiming that the lead that he was putting in gasoline was perfectly harmless, and giving himself lead poisoning and being treated for it for 2 years in Switzerland, he came back and got assigned to another job working on refrigeration, where he invented Freon, the chlorofluorocarbons that have also been outlawed because of the huge damage they did to the ozone layer. So the 18th of May is Thomas Midgley Jr.'s birthday. He died at a relatively young age, and I'm thinking that was probably a good thing for the environment, because if he'd come up with a third one, who knows what might have happened to the planet. But that becomes, if not inspiring, at least a cautionary tale about what it is that we want to be creating. Because as we are creating something new in our lives, we can keep in mind that we want that to not just be good for me. We want that to be good for everybody. I want this to be uplifting for me and for everyone I come in contact with. I want this to be the opportunity for love to unfold for each of us and for all of us. And let it be an invitation. Let that manifesting sandwich be between the divine and that feeling of deep thanks and appreciation. And allow that newness to come into life as something wonderful for and through and as us, and for everyone. So that's the invitation for you as you make your manifesting sandwich for lunch or for dinner or in the future. As you are putting this together, allow yourself to be guided by the infinite, supported by gratitude, and do something fabulous. You deserve it. And so it is.